I want to welcome everyone tonight and thank you for coming out, and I hope that you are here and with an open heart, an open mind, and an open Bible to follow along as we study together to ensure that the things that are being said are according to God's Word. It is a truth that sets us free, and that is why we will always, always, always put an emphasis on that truth. So again, your presence is just thrills me tonight. I have a daughter here and a son-in-law here and a few members from back home here as well, and just very, very happy to have you. Tonight we're going to talk about with purpose. With purpose. And for this we'll go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. If you'll turn over there with me, 1 Corinthians chapter 9. I think we would be well within the realm of possibilities to say that the Apostle Paul was a person who was of purpose. And we want to live our lives with purpose. We want to fulfill the purpose for which we have been blood-bought. The Lord brought us into this family, into this association, into the ranks of the saved, into the priesthood for a purpose. In the Old Testament, as we talked last night about being a priest and performing the priestly duties, they had a purpose. And so it should not shock or surprise us that we in the New Testament period, called out of darkness and into light, were called for a purpose. And so to know that purpose and to live by that purpose, to be people of purpose, is going to be a beautiful thing. So again, it's hard to read the Apostle Paul's writing and not hear how he was driven with purpose. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. In 1 Corinthians 9, we're going to look at verses 26 and 27. It says, "Therefore I run in such a way as not without aim. I box in a way, such a way, as not beating the air. But I discipline my body and make it my slave, so that after I preach to others, I myself will not be disqualified." If you have joined the track team, and you've signed up for one of the different dashes and races that they have, we have a purpose in mind when we get down in the starting blocks. We know where we're going. Now back home in our YMCA, every other day they change which direction you're supposed to go on the track. That's not generally a problem in high school. You generally go one direction on the track, at least the ones I'm familiar with. But you know, as a runner, we have a destination. We know what our purpose is. And the purpose is to get around that track as fast as we can, hopefully, than the other people around us. He says, I box in such a way it's not without aim. I know what I'm aiming at. And it's an opponent that I'm aiming at. He knew what purpose he had as a follower and a disciple, a worker in the Lord's kingdom. And so to that end, if you go back up to verse 19 here in chapter 9, notice it says, "For though I am free from all men, I have made myself a slave to all, so that I may win more." He had a purpose. He had a destination. There was an end goal. I want to win people to the Lord. And so to that end, in verse 20, there's things that he needed to do. To the Jews I became as a Jew, so that I might win Jews. To those who are under the law, as under the law, though not being under the law myself, under the law, he says, so I might win those who are under the law. To those who are without law, though not being without the law of God, but under the law of Christ, so that I might win those who are without law. To the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. And I become all things to all men, so that I by all means might save some. I do all things for the sake of the gospel, so that I may become a fellow partaker of it. In verse 24, do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win. Everyone who competes in the games exercises self-control in all things. They then do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we and imperishable. Indeed, it is hard to read that and not think that the Apostle Paul was a person who had purpose in his life. He got up in the morning knowing what he intended to do that day for the Lord. And at midday, it wasn't confusion with him what he wanted to do for the Lord. And at evening time, There was something for the Lord. And you see, he was following in the steps of our very best example on this point. Let's go to John, the 9th chapter. John chapter 9, verses 4 through 5. In 4 through 5 it says, "We must work the works of him who sent me as long as it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." You know, while you are in your home, you are the light of that home. When you are in that particular subdivision or community, you're the light in that community. When you live in that particular town, you're the light in that particular town. You have a purpose. Jesus had a purpose. And he realized that his time period was getting short. Night was coming. Anyone else seem to be able to, maybe you go along, you have a project, you know when the due date is, but it's not till Friday, and so you find a lot of other things to do today. And then Tuesday you find some other things. And at some point in time you say, I got to get busy. Because you know the deadline is coming. Jesus is one from an early age understood his purpose, lived according to his purpose, metered and measured his time and his steps to live according to that purpose. And so when Paul lives as a person of purpose, you know, and he is one that said, if there was a stripe that wasn't laid on Jesus, I'll take it. If there was an insult that wasn't cast at Jesus, I'll take it. He identified with the work and the purpose of Jesus. And he was willing to complete those things in himself. Jesus was one of purpose in God's service, as was Paul. And I hope that we are too. I hope in all of this you hear the definitiveness, the purpose, the passion, the commitment to a goal. And so I ask you tonight, are you working a spiritual plan? Are you working a spiritual plan? Do you know where you want to be spiritually? Are you systematically working a plan to get yourself there? And if not, why not? Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 1. In 2 Peter chapter 1, have you ever thought of it in these terms of working a plan, actually having a plan for myself? Of where I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to accomplish for the Lord in whatever time I have? How about this in 2 Peter chapter 1, beginning in verse 5? "Now for this very reason also applying all diligence, in your faith supply moral excellence, and in your moral excellence knowledge, and in your knowledge self-control, and in your self-control perseverance, and in your perseverance godliness, and in your godliness, brotherly kindness. And in your brotherly kindness, love." Each of these are add-ons. What are you working to add on to your faith? Where are you in this process? What is your current add-on that you're working on tonight? Did you come here tonight working on an add-on, hoping you would hear something that would assist you with your add-on? Will you assemble tomorrow looking for information to help you with your add-on? What about next Wednesday? And the week after that? What are we adding to our faith? Where are we in the process? Let's go to, hold our finger here, and let's go to Galatians chapter 5. In Galatians 5 and verse 22, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law." How many in this room want to raise their hand and say that you've reached the apex of all of those? Then we have some add-on work to do, don't we? We have more growth to do, don't we? So what are you doing to grow in those things? What's your plan? I'm just wondering, which one of these are you hunting for tonight? Information about how to be more joyful or peaceful or patient or kind or gentle. How to exercise greater self-control. Going back to that 2 Peter chapter 1. You know, there's a whole lot of folks, and I say this sorrowfully, And I hope it's not true in the congregation here. But in verse 5 it says, for this very reason also applying all diligence. I hope, for the elders and the preacher here, I hope no one is stuck at just needing some diligence. But people can get stuck at just diligence. They're lacking in faith, but before they can build faith, they've got to have a zeal and a desire and a want to grow. They have to have diligence. And I suggest to you that part of diligence is making a plan. And when we have a plan and we're diligent and we want it and we desire it, isn't it just a fact of life when we want something, desire it, and we're looking for it, at some point in time we may well just acquire it. At least we're far more likely to acquire something we're looking for than something we're not looking for. Applying all diligence, what's the add-on? Faith, trust, confidence, commitment, surrender, faith. And in the faith supply moral excellence. I want to do not just that which is moral, but that which is excellent and morally excellent. And in that supplying more knowledge. Maybe you're here tonight just seeking more knowledge. You realize, I just need to know more. And you crave it and you desire it because you want to be morally excellent. To the degree that you know, you want to be morally excellent and you're living after it. Maybe you're an Apollos type. And to the degree that he knew, he was doing very well with it, wasn't he? But he needed more knowledge. And so he's pulled aside and he was taught the way of Jesus Christ more so, more fully. And in this knowledge, self-control. It's great to know, but it's also a wonderful thing to be able to hold within the bounds of what we know to be right and not stepping out of it. Are you here tonight looking for some advice and help and counsel on self-control? Self-control? It's something we can work months and years at. Self-control. And if you are, then I hope every time you come to a service, every time you come to a Bible study, you're listening for tidbits of information about how to have greater self-control. But you need to be diligent for it. You need to look for it. You listen for it. Is it part of your plan? And couldn't we on the way home talk with the person that's riding in the car beside us and say, did you hear anything tonight? I got a couple of points on self-control. Did you hear anything else? This is what I heard. Did you hear anything else that helped me in this? Let's talk about it. Let's crave it. Let's desire it. Have a plan for it. Be people of purpose. I assemble here for a purpose. So I can be more of these things, gain more of that, be more knowledgeable, more capable. And with that knowledge, be able to explain it more clearly to somebody else. Self-control. And in this self-control, notice perseverance. The ability not only to get it and to stay in it, but to continue to stay in it day after day after day after day. The Christian life is not a sprint. The Christian life is a marathon. We talked last night about it being a living sacrifice. I will be a living sacrifice today. And if the Lord wills and I live through today, I'll be a living sacrifice tomorrow. And if I live through tomorrow for the Lord, I'll be a living sacrifice the next day for the Lord. It's a marathon that we run for the Lord. And in this perseverance, godliness. And your godliness, brotherly kindness. And your brotherly kindness, the apex of all of it, love. Again, I ask, which one did you come here hunting for tonight? Which one will you come here looking for and hunting for tomorrow and next Sunday? Which one prompts you and drives you to study the Bible with the group that will assemble tomorrow morning? Which one of these prompts you and drives you to worship, to come to a gospel meeting on a Saturday night? Or to travel an hour or two to go and to seek that information? We did it in the radio program today talking about Sheba. Sheba traveled from way over yonder to come and to hear words of wisdom. If you could gain words of wisdom that helped you today and tomorrow and to eternity and through eternity, how far would you drive to seek that information? If you have a plan, if you're living a life of purpose, you'll do it. Which one of these prompts you and drives you to private study, to small group discussions? You know, you have a major university over here, and I saw a very large Ivy Tech campus as well. You may have some other kinds of schools and colleges around. You know, students, they understand this. They're always looking for what's next. The next class, the next year, the degree, the job. You know, and in our classes, oftentimes, a class may well have a prerequisite. I need to have this before I can go and get that. And I need that to get to that. And because I want that, I need to come back here. I need this first. It's hard for me to get to moral excellence when I'm struggling with faith. Does that make sense? To get that add-on, I need this back here. This being a prerequisite to that. And so if you want that, folks, figure out where you're at right now. And if you're struggling with that introspection and be able to know exactly where you're at, and maybe you keep getting bit by problems, you're wondering, why am I this way? You know what? You have 4 elders here, and I've gotten to spend a little bit of time with them. They're an excellent resource for you. Seek them out. I have literally had a young man come to me and sit down and say, Rob, help me to understand what I need to be doing to be better and stronger than what I am right now. That's a wonderful kind of question to ask. It takes a lot of humility, by the way, to ask a question like that. Ask that question. Build a plan for yourself. The college students have a plan. The college students actually sit down with a counselor. They get online and they see the map. And they plan it out. Couldn't you do that with your faith? And your spirituality and your desire and your walk for the Lord? Plan it out. Professionals do it. Professionals know to maybe get this next job or to get this promotion, I need to have this certification or this qualification. And so we go and get it for a purpose to get to that. Professionals do it. Sports people do it. They go into training. They figure out what they're lacking in and what they need to add to their game to make the team, to get the big contract, to stay in the game. They figure out what they need to do. Hobbyists do it. What tool do I need to be able to do this project? Collectors do it. Someone was talking about their card collection here. Someone had some of these card collecting things, and the same thing that some of my kids collect as well. And you know, to have this one figure, you got to collect this one, this one, and this one. And so you go out and you go to the flea markets, you go to the various card stores, and you're looking for that piece. They go on the hunt for it. Now, folks, if students do it, and professionals do it, and sports people, and hobbyists, and collectors do it, how much more should we, as Christians, be deliberate about what we're adding in our spiritual lives? To go and to seek it. I want you to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 2 with me. 1 Corinthians 2, verse 2. In 1 Corinthians 2, verse 2, we read as follows. The Apostle Paul again. For I determined to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. If we knew nothing else, and we just found the word determined, I determined. If we don't know anything about the rest of that sentence, what we know is he had a plan. He was determined to do something. He was there for a purpose. What is your purpose for being here tonight? Maybe it's to be encouraged. Maybe it's to encourage another. Maybe it's to make a public statement about where your faith and your confidence, your belief and your trust is. Maybe here to honor your God. That's a good thing to come for. Maybe it is to grow in your faith, to gain knowledge, Maybe you're looking for some of that diligence. You're looking for something to light a fire in yourself. Any and all these are wonderful things. But he was determined, he had a plan. And what was it, according to verse 2? To know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. He had a narrow scope of what he was determined to do right there. I will do these things within this scope, that right there. And because of that, we have verse 1. And when I came to you, brethren, I did not come with superiority of speech or of wisdom, proclaiming to you the testimony of God. He says it wasn't because of my wonderful oration. It wasn't because my speech and I'd gone to classes and Toastmasters and I could really... Wasn't that. No, I was going to do this plain. I was going to do this straightforward. Just me and you and God's Word. And I'm going to go straight to the point. I'll know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. There are more consequences to that. Notice verses 3 and 4. I was with you in weakness and in fear and in much trembling. For him to go there and do what he did in the way that he did it, there were some prerequisites. Because if he is going to experience this, weakness, fear, and trembling, before he got there, some of the prerequisites that he needed to work on in his faith as a servant would be such things as faith, confidence, trust and providential care. These are things that need to be squared away before he got there. Because it's going to be rough when he did. You see, the class that he was about to take when he got there was of such a nature, the prerequisite was going to be things like faith, confidence, and trust and providential care. Those were necessary, and they needed to be built in him. And you also notice verse 4. And my message and my preaching were not in persuasive words of wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith would not rest on the wisdom of men, but on the power of God. How did the Apostle Paul get so much done for the Lord? He's telling you right here. Between what he said in 1 Corinthians 9 and what he said right here in 1 Corinthians 2, he is telling you how he got so much done for the Lord. He was a Christian that lived with purpose in his life. He determined things, and then within the sphere of the authority that was given to him, he went out and he lived those things. By the grace that God was extending to him, he went out and he lived those things. But he was a Christian of purpose. So, Christian, what are you wanting to add in the year 2019 to your faith? What skill set? What confidence? What faith? What trust in providential care? What fruit of the Spirit? What add-on needs to be in your life in the year 2019? Will you seek it? Will you make a plan for it? Will you maybe come and ask Paul to preach a lesson on it? Would you maybe ask the elders to meet with you and talk about it? Could we get it added into a small group discussion and get together on a Friday night to study on that subject? In so many other aspects of life, they do it all the time. And they achieve degrees. And they achieve certifications. They meet requirements and they get advanced in careers and professions, in their jobs, because they do it. Surely those of the world aren't wiser than we, are they? And how they advance and what are their chosen profession and love is? In Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 11, we read there about the armor that we can put on, the full armor of God. In Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 11, put on the full armor of God that you may be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. We have an active enemy that wants you dead. spiritually dead forever. Will you at least act in your own preservation? Would you do that? Would you make a plan not to end up spiritually dead? And if so, we need to know about this armor. We need to know how this armor works. We need to know how to put on this armor. And we need the perseverance to keep the armor on. What areas of the armor do you need assistance strapping on and knowing how it works? Do you know how to wield the sword of faith? Do you know how to utilize that shield of faith? And if not, we just found one of the add-ons that you need. What about the helmet of salvation? Do you always put it on? Do you keep it on? Are your thoughts always on salvation? It sure helps when we're making decisions day in and day out. Because when we wear the helmet of salvation, the question simply is, does this help me to salvation, or is this less likely to help me to salvation? It sure makes decisions a whole lot easier. And again, could you ask the preacher for a lesson on it? The elders for assistance, small group study, maybe a whole quarter's worth of Bible study on it. Maybe others would be benefited. Let's go over to Romans chapter 1. I want you to read in verse 13 with me. He says, I do not want you to be unaware, brethren, that often I have planned. Hear that word? Planned. What does that mean? He had a purpose. He had a design. He knew where he wanted to go. He said, I have often planned to come to you. He'd been prevented from doing it. Didn't mean he didn't plan on it, and still intended to do it. Do you recall on the second missionary journey, as they've gone back through some of those cities, they picked up Timothy and they're working their way across, and then they decide that they're going to go up north into Bithynia. And remember what the Spirit said? Nope, not going. Okay. See, we came from that way. We can't go that way. Let's go down into Asia. And the Spirit said, nope. Can't do that. All right. Came from that way. We're not going back. Can't go that way. Can't go that way. I got an idea. We're going to go this way. And then at Troas, what do they have? The Macedonian vision. And then we go over there. And we bring the gospel into Europe. He had a plan. I am suggesting to you that individually, you need a plan. You need to know where you're going. And with your evangelistic efforts, where are you going with it? Do you have a plan for evangelism? We've been talking about you personally and your personal growth. But we are not called to be wonderful Jeopardy contestants with what we know about the Bible. We are not called to win every Bible trivia category. We are not just simply collectors of interesting information. We learn it to tell it. We bring it in to give it out. Freely we have also received of His Word, and we want to freely share it with others. And so what is your personal plan in evangelism? That'll be our discussion tomorrow morning in Bible class. What's your plan? What's your plan with your coworkers, with your neighbors, family members? Do you have a list of names? Do you know who you could take it to? And on what circumstances you could take it to them? Because it is up to you. The Lord's working through you today to carry out His plan of salvation. And I'll say too, and Tom, one of our elders, can attest to this. It's something that we talk about in our meetings as elders as we shepherd the flock back home. What plan do we have as elders? Who are the up-and-coming ones that can be groomed and prepared for being elders one day? Who are the next up as deacons? who are being groomed and taught and trained and prepared to be the next set of teachers. Where's the congregation going to be in 5 and 10 and 20 years from now? And taking steps now to make sure that it's there. Paul had a purpose with where he intended to go. And so to the elders, where do you intend for it to go? And you see, without a plan, I guess anywhere is okay, right? Or is it? I want to encourage each of us, both as a group and individual, have a plan for your spiritual life, for your own growth, what you're looking to add. And husbands, I want to say to you that in your home, as a leader in that home, that for you to set a direction in your home for the spiritual care, maintenance, and growth in your home is a critical thing for you to do. Fellas, there's a lot of things we can mess up. We may not get a car payment made on time. We may never, in the time that our kids are in our household, may never get to take them on the vacation we want to take them on. But there is something that you positively cannot miss without dire consequences. And that is to have a spiritual plan for your family. And how they learn and what they learn, the degree to which they learn the eternal principles contained within God's Word. Moms, exercise that plan with your kids. Run with it. Help them to love God's Word. Have a plan for your life, for your family, for the congregation, and how it is that we're going to get this Word out to a lost and dying generation. They're counting on us, folks. We need a plan to get it there. The lesson tonight is yours. I hope something in there is encouraging to you. I want you to know that I preached the lesson as much for myself tonight as I did for you. And I think these things bear being brought back to memory on a regular basis, because we need to be ever diligent in our lives. Every single person in this room is here for a spiritual purpose. You have been brought into the Lord's army for a purpose. We were called out of darkness into His marvelous light for a purpose. Let us live out that purpose every single day. And we'll do it as long as we can, as hard as we can, and take it as far as we can until we take our last breath. And then we look forward to one day hearing those blessed, wonderful words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Tonight, if you're not a Christian, I encourage you to become one. There's nothing like it. There is no greater joy, there's no greater blessing. So many things that we might inquire in life, we're thrilled with it for a while, but then it gets old and secondhand, and we kind of lose our zeal for it. But what we're talking about, and something you can procure for yourself through Jesus Christ, is your salvation, and my joy of that never wears out. My zeal, my zest, my appreciation for it just grows year by year by year. And you can have it too. If tonight you're a believer in Jesus Christ, willing to repent of your sins and confess your belief in Him, you too could be baptized for the forgiveness of your sins. If you've done that, but you've not lived like the person of purpose that you should, you've gotten distracted, you've not worked, you've done the opposite of that. I want to encourage you tonight, if that's the case, to repent yourself of whatever sin might be in your life. It's of a private nature. I encourage you to go to God in prayer and ask for forgiveness of it. Then work the deeds in keeping with repentance. Maybe even bring a brother or sister in so that they can help you and assist you and walk with you through that difficult time. If what you've done has brought reproach upon the blessed name of Jesus Christ, upon His church, I encourage you to publicly repent yourself of that sin. so we can publicly pray with you and for you for the forgiveness of it. And if you simply need the prayers of the congregation, the strength that the congregation brings, I hope you understand we make ourselves vulnerable to each other, and rightfully so. We need each other. We need each other. And if you're confessing that you need help, I tell you what, we're going to rejoice with you. We're going to rejoice that you've had the guts, the faith, the courage to say, I need help. And I want to come along beside you. I'll throw an arm around you, and I will walk with you through the deepest, darkest, most ugly parts of life until we get to the other side. And there are many people in this room that will make the same commitment to you. No one judging you, because you know what? They may need you next week. And they'll need you to walk with them without judgment. Just get to the other side. We are walking arm in arm through life as brothers and sisters until we get to the end of this journey. And I want to spend eternity with every one of you in God's blessed home. Whatever your need is tonight, I want you to make a note, but come forward as we stand and sing.